Hello everyone, I am here today with Siobhan Richardson. Siobhan is our fight director for She Kills Monsters, and she's joining us today to talk a little bit about fight choreography for the show. We'll see you in a second. Hello Siobhan, thank you so much for joining us today. I have 3 quick questions for you about Fight for She Kills Monsters. My first question is, keeping in mind that She Kills Monsters is a play that is geared a little more to younger audiences, what are the differences in choreographing and directing fight for shows for younger people as opposed to nitty-gritty realism for grown adults?
Great question. I think what's the same for the performer is that you still need to be accurate with your targets. You still need to understand the story. Like what's the moment-to-moment story of the physicality? How is that impacting your character? Where exactly? So we don't lose any of that specificity. What we change though is a little bit of the style sometimes of the responses. So is it like how much are our characters going towards like, oh, this really hurts, like the existential dread of lethal injury, or how much it's more like an, that sucks. So we're sort of taking a look at the magnitude of those responses. Unless, of course, you're playing one of those like quick disposal characters where it's, you can kill a robot, it's fine, is sort of how it goes on for TV. Although funny enough, my brain just went, is that okay? Because I watch a lot of science fiction, and I'm listening a lot to Murderbot Diaries right now, which is very much from the perspective of a robot-human construct.
Oh, wow.
Anyway,
cool.
Morals. So it's a little bit about the style. The big thing I would say is the difference in how we play the damage of wounding, and how we play the impact on the other characters. Like how much does it hurt the person who has done the hurting?
Cool.
Yeah. How much they take that on? How much are they affected by that, like in their soul, as it were?
Yes, because I remember you've worked on other shows here that are sometimes far more violent and explicit and graphic than likely what is happening in She Kills, although they are wielding weapons.
Very much.
So it's interesting to see how you modulate between the different styles for different age groups and genres.
Because it depends a little bit on how much we're meant to care about the characters too, because it's going to impact us as the audience. If I don't care about the character, like it is literally a monster, not like some of the modern fantasy where it's like, oh, we're supposed to care about the orcs now, but we're talking a little bit older fantasy where it's like this is very much set up as a being who is will kill you and rip you limb to limb in painful, awful ways if you don't kill them first.
That makes sense.
It really is about an enemy. So those ones we're really happy to just, as an audience, we're like, yeah, get them. Yeah.
Cool.
Bye, out of my way. I'm a hero. Yeah.
That brings me to my next question. What is it like directing fight for like across different genres, not only age groups, but looking at fantasy as opposed to something more realism, as opposed to something more, perhaps it's more heightened, it's more classical. Does that change the types of things you're putting into the fight? Does that change what the fights are looking like stylistically as well? I know obviously there's like different weapons and such involved, but can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we usually lean on this idea of like safety, story, style. Those are the principles we usually have in mind when we're looking at stage combat. So first, it has to be safe, it has to be repeatable. The actor has to be able to do every single show and not be held up by the choreography itself in some way. Story, really close second. It's basically a safety story. Story really close second, making sure that whatever we're doing is for a purpose. Unless your purpose is show off the coolness of this thing, in which case, yeah, totally do the fight equivalent of 32 Fuetes, where it's like this is about being awesome. But generally, we're looking at it's more about how does this movement, how does this emotional arc serve the story, and then we're always looking at style. When I'm looking at a piece of choreography, when I'm creating a piece of choreography, I like to know a little bit more about the show, so that what I'm choreographing can look like it fits in with the rest of the show. And I really invite my actors and my director to be part of that. I'm here to offer, in a way, just suggestions, and I really want information from the design, from the performers, from the director, as to whether this fits in with the visual style, with the pacing. So that's sort of like the overall rule for style. More specifically, when you're looking at genres, yes, different weapons are involved. it's also like you can notice it in movies. If it's meant to be something that is more modern, then we might have some more like military, close quarters, maybe MMA influenced. You're looking at sort of the surrounding cultures. If you're looking for fantasy, it depends a little bit, like your previous question, depends a little bit on like what's the impact we're intending on the audience. Like, are we looking at like a high hero kind of thing, or is it meant to be something that we're more easily meant to put ourselves into? And what kind of weapons are involved can often influence that. If it's all swords are a little tiny bit of a distance weapon. Whereas if we were doing fantasy and we wanted it to be grittier, we might go towards knives because they are closer quarters, and that tends to impact the attacker and the receiver more personally because it's so close quarters. You have to hold on to that person. You don't have to, but it's they really are right in your face. So as you're doing that, you are experiencing the impact of that more. I feel like I have a little more to say on that, but it is escaping me at this second.
That's all right.
Yeah.
My final question for you is, it's a little bit of a two-parter. My first question is, I know that you've worked on She Kills Monsters in the past. Do you have a favorite fight from She Kills? And then follow up, is there something you're super excited to choreograph in like your favorite moment in this show? And then also, this is like a compound question, how does it change, like when you do the same show in different iterations with different companies, how do you navigate that and having fresh things? That was a big question.
Yeah. Do I have a favorite moment? With this show, not yet, because we haven't actually choreographed the whole thing, which actually speaks to your final point of like, how do you change it show to show? Well, I think of my job as a translator. I've read the script and I have some ideas, but I'm really looking to the director, the performers, all of the designs, even things like where's the audience situated does a lot to influence how we actually stage the fights. Performers' abilities have a lot to do with performer enthusiasm, has a lot to do with it. So in that way, it's really easy to do different shows. I know some fight directors will plan everything out ahead of time before they get in the room. I'm very much an in-the-room person because I find inevitably, if I try to choreograph something ahead of time, like beat by beat, it's generally going to change. Maybe I'll choreograph some interesting moments, or I'll have some ideas in my head about like the arc of the thing. But for me, it's really about interacting with who and what is in the room and this specific production. Do I have favorites? I don't know, I think
Is there like a moment that you're looking forward to working on in this show in particular, or are you just overly enthused about across the board?
I just love stage combat, so I'm just happy to be here at all. I think what's fun about this show in particular is that the different encounters are set up very differently. So it's not just like same setup, they fight, similar setup, they fight. All the setups are different. Each fight has something different happening. So it's a fun show that way, in that there's always different elements. And I think something I am doing better this time around is more magic elements, like really integrating those parts. I have brought my resident nerd along with me. My partner in crime, Matt Richardson, has been playing role-playing games since they came out. So, cool. I mean, he can quote you the various, each different edition. And like knows the characters and character types and some of the inherent movement that's actually in the source material, just basically through lived experience at this point. So I've brought him along to help me out because he's such a valuable resource, and he's honestly such a genius at fight directing that it's a really great fun opportunity for me to do my own continuing education, watching him and how he interacts with his piece. So yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
I'm off camera right now, but She Kills Monsters is opening very soon. Ticket link will be in the bio. If you are interested in seeing the amazing work that Siobhan is working on with our cast for this show, make sure you get your tickets before they're gone. Thank you all so much for joining us for this episode. We will see you in later media.
Woohoo!
Bye!
Bye.